Hey YouTube, how's it going? It's Quentin here, and I'm back, and I'm here to finish the series. So I know I haven't uploaded any videos in almost a month, and a lot of you guys have actually been waiting for me to finish this series. So I do want to apologize for being absent from YouTube for so long. And yeah, I'm back. Let's go ahead and finish this series now. So this is tutorial number 39, and we're taking a look at part 6 of our basic website layout. Okay, so in the previous tutorial we left off, and I said that we were going to continue floating this section and this aside tag next to each other. So if we take a look at this in the browser right now, you guys will know that we've already taken care of our navigation and our logo, but we have our main section over here and our aside section appearing below each other. So let's go ahead now and actually take care of this, and let's get them floated next to each other. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and give my section a class. So we're going to give that a class of left side, because it's going to be on the left, and we're going to give the aside a class of right side, because that's going to appear on the right. And while we're at it, I'm going to go down to this footer over here, and I'm going to give this a class of page footer. Whoops. And I know a lot of you guys are probably wondering, like, what the heck? Why are you giving the footer a class now? And, you know, it'll all become apparent in just a second. But let's get started with this section and this aside tag. So let's actually float them to the left. So we'll float the section to the left, and then we'll float the aside section to the left, which means that they will be appearing next to each other. Okay, so I've already made a comment over here, which is float aside and main section. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to do that using the actual classes. So I'm going to float the left side first, and we're going to go ahead and say float left, and then after that we're going to go ahead and float the right side. Underscore, not hyphen, whoops. Okay, right side. And we're going to float that to the left as well. Now I could go ahead and float this right side to the right. It probably wouldn't make much difference, but I like to float everything to the left, just so I know that there's no space in between our left side and our right side. Like, we don't have any unnecessary space. They're going to be floated right next to each other, pushed up, you know, touching each other basically. So let's go over to Firefox and click refresh, and as you can see, things look a little bit funny now, because yes, we have our main section over here and we've got our aside section next to our main section, but what the heck is the footer doing up here? Okay, and that is because we actually have this floated to the left, and then we have our aside floated to the left, so these two are appearing next to each other because they're floated. But then our footer is actually wrapping around any floated content, which you know, makes it appear up here because there's enough space for it to appear here. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is go over to our footer, and I'm going to go ahead and just make a comment here, and we're just going to say make footer clear floated elements. Okay, and then I'm going to grab that footer by its class name, which was page footer. I hope that's exactly what I named it. Let's go see. Yep, that's pretty much it. Okay, and we're just going to say clear both. Now, because both of these are floated to the left, I probably could just say clear left, but you know, just in case any of you guys want to float this to the right, let's just clear both. So go ahead and save that now and click refresh, and our footer is now back where it should be at the bottom of the page. Okay, But how do we get these two blocks over here, or these two elements, our section and our aside, to appear correctly? Because, right now they're right up against each other, and this isn't taking up very much space at all. If I came here as a user, I wouldn't really know that this is the main content of the web page, like that this is what I was looking for. Okay, so let's go over to CSS, and we're going to give things some width. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is actually make my left side bigger than the right side, because obviously our left side being the main content of the web page might actually be a lot bigger than what I've got here in this example. And in fact, that means it would take up much more space, so it probably needs a lot more space. And again, having a bigger left side is just going to make sure that that is what attracts the user's attention, the big left side, or all the information in that left side. So let's go ahead and give that a width now, and I'm going to give that a width of 700 pixels. But if we scroll all the way to the top of our CSS file over here, you can see that we've also got our container that has a width of 1000 pixels. And since our left side and our right side are actually inside of that container, we have to stick to that width. So that means that if our left side is going to be 700 pixels, our right side needs to be small enough to actually fit in that space, okay, or the leftover space. And 1000 minus 700 is 300 pixels. So I could go ahead and give this a width of 300 pixels, and that means that our 700 plus 300 fits perfectly into our 1000 pixel container. And when we go ahead and click refresh now, we should get our main section appearing here, basically where it should be, and that takes up 700 pixels starting from here and ending over here. And then our aside section takes up the remaining 300 pixels in the actual block. And if you guys want to check this out, you could go ahead and right click on your page somewhere, click inspect element, and right now we're in the container, so we can see our container has a width of 1000 pixels, or actually that's our footer. There's our container. Okay, and if we go ahead and take a look at the section over here, take note for the dotted lines that are going to appear as soon as I hover over here. You can see that our section takes up 700 pixels, so you can take a look at that over here. And our aside, well, that takes up 300 pixels by 159 pixels. And that 159 pixels is just the height, which is defined by how much content we have in there. Okay, but now we've got this main section here and this aside section. What happens if we decided to give them a margin or a padding or a border or something like that? Well, that's going to throw our calculations way out. So let's go ahead and actually just give this a border of 2 pixels solid red, and I'm going to give my right side a border as well. So let's just copy that and paste this, but instead we'll give that a blue border. Okay, so we've got a red border and a blue border, Spider-Man colors for the win. Let's go ahead and click refresh. Well, what the heck? Didn't we just float our aside section and our main section next to each other? Why are they below each other again? Like, what the heck is going on? And the reason for this is because if we go back to CSS over here, you'll see that we have 700 pixels as a width, but then we've got a 2 pixel border, and this is 2 pixels on the left and 2 pixels on the right. Okay, and again, if we take a look at this right side, we've got a 300 pixel width with 2 pixels on the left as a border and 2 pixels on the right as a border. And 700 plus 2 pixels on the left is 702, plus 2 pixels on the right, that's 704. And if you take a look at this, this is 300 pixels plus 2 pixels on the left and 2 pixels on the right, so that's 304. So that means we have a total of 1008 pixels, and our container over here only has a width of 1000 pixels. So we're kind of over by 8 pixels. Okay, and one way to fix this would be just to subtract that amount of space that the border is going to take away from the actual width. So I could say that my width must be 696 pixels, and let's go ahead and change the width of this right side as well, because that's going to have to be 296 pixels. Okay, and if you go ahead and save that now and click refresh, we've got these two blocks, or the main section and the aside section, appearing next to each other again, which is exactly what we wanted in the first place. But as you can see, we don't really have any space between these two blocks. There's no margin. So if we wanted to go ahead and add a margin in here, I'm going to add mine to the left side, and we're just going to give this a margin on the right. So margin right of 10 pixels. Okay. And the reason why I did that is because I want 10 pixels of space on the right of my left side, which means that there should be 10 pixels of space here. But let's click refresh, and again we've stuffed up, because this section over here, or this aside section, has now fallen down to the bottom over here, and that's because we're over the total width again. Okay, so since I added a 10 pixel margin, I'm gonna have to subtract those 10 pixels from somewhere. So I could go ahead and actually just take it out of the width of this left side over here. So I could make this 686 pixels, and again that's going to make these two blocks fit next to each other perfectly again. So let's click refresh, and as you can see, they're perfectly spaced out next to each other with a 10 pixel margin in between them. But again, there isn't really much padding between these two articles. So like, our words are pushed up right against the border. There's no padding in this actual section. So if I wanted to add padding to this section, well, then I'm gonna have to factor that in as well. But I'm actually not going to do that because we're running out of time. But just to let you guys know that you could do it that way, and I'm also going to show you guys a completely different way to take care of this problem in the next tutorial. So make sure you come back and watch that, and I'm going to show you guys a completely different approach to looking at this problem. So I'll see you guys in the next video.